You ready? Well, good afternoon, everyone. Marhaba, ahla wa sahla. It's great to have you all here. I'm Sari. I'm the rector at St. John's, also a Palestinian. And I'll tell you something about that in a moment. But I do want to say that I have a feeling that people in good St. John's fashion are going to be showing up a little late. And so, I imagine that these seats will fill up as time goes by. I also heard from a few people who asked if this was going to be recorded because they couldn't be here. So we're grateful to Jay for recording this. I want to just start by saying thank you to Kirk Campbell and our Holy Land Committee who envisioned this idea, and to everyone who is joining us today. Welcome to all of our contributors. St. John's was not always active with our Middle East group. In 2014, 4 years after getting here, someone at St. John's said, "When are you going to lead a pilgrimage to the Holy Land?" And so I took a big group with us, including Bishop Marianne, our bishop. And when we came back from that, in a very organic way, a group started at St. John's, which is our Holy Land Committee. And we have taken groups in 2016, 2018, and then most recently in 2023. And it's just amazing to watch people come back and feel really ignited around the subject. But this is the first time that we do a cultural event. So we've done a lot of education. We know a lot about politics and what's going on over there. But this is a beautiful opportunity to lean into the culture a little bit more. And even myself, looking forward to just kind of sitting here and reconnecting with my own beautiful heritage. So again, a big warm welcome, and I'll turn it over to Kirk right now. Kirk, will you come forward?
Thanks, Sari. I just want to add to Sari's greetings to all of you. Really appreciate everyone coming, making time to come and learn and experience Palestinian culture. So I also want to say thank you to our Holy Land Committee, chaired by Nancy Adams. If the Holy Land Committee members here would just stand briefly to be recognized. Really want to appreciate all of you. Thank you. And of course, thanks to our speakers and artists. And I love that so many of you are dressed in what Lemma is going to talk about in particular when we get there, but in the garments and thobes and raiment of Palestinian culture. So now an important public service announcement. This event is also a beneficial event for 3 good Palestinian-focused charities that we identified on the Holy Land Committee. It's just suggested donations, nothing required. But if you would like to contribute, there's a QR code in your program that you can donate through. And so briefly about the charities. Bright Stars of Bethlehem is one. It's the U.S. arm of Dar al-Kalima University, which is founded by Mitri Rahab, a Lutheran priest in the West Bank town of Bethlehem. Dar al-Kalima teaches about activities such as those you'll witness here today, essentially culture, arts, and design. Second, Project Rosanna's mobile medical clinics, which provide aid to remote Palestinian communities, working through Project Rosanna's international health diplomacy, which builds trust through healthcare cooperation between Israelis and Palestinians. And then third, and finally, I'm looking for Tabitha, United Palestinian Appeal, and we have a staff member, Tabitha, to my right. She's shyly raising her hand. There she is. And UPA empowers Palestinians to improve their lives and communities through sustainable programs in health, education, and community and economic development. And staff, Tabitha will be here to answer questions and talk to you during the reception, along with our speakers and artists. So turning now to introducing the culture itself. I'm not qualified to talk about culture in any depth, but I want to cite 2 of the most important Palestinian cultural figures that I can think of. One is Edward Said, intellectual and author, and Said believed in the power of culture over the culture of power, and that elements of culture are tools of liberation. Also, hey Reza. Also the Palestinian national poet Mahmoud Darwish, who viewed culture and poetry as acts of resistance against oppression and asserted that culture is the final line of defense against the erasure of identity. So with that, we're going to bring our first speaker up, Nizar Farsakh. He's with the Museum of the Palestinian People. It's downtown near the intersection of 18th and Florida. I highly recommend everyone go and visit. Nizar is a Palestinian-American political analyst and educator, former member of the Palestinian negotiating team, and he later advised the Palestinian diplomatic mission. He's a lecturer currently of international affairs at GW, George Washington University, and a founding member and advisory board member of the Museum of the Palestinian People. So please welcome Nizar.
Good afternoon. I just want to make sure I keep my 10 minutes, so I'm looking at my notes. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. My role here is to just bring where culture plays in the Palestinian story. And I'll start from how we started the museum, which is, as Kirk said in the introduction, I worked in the negotiating team, I worked in an NGO, I worked in diplomacy. But when I sat with Bishara Nassar is the person who founded the museum, back in 2017, I remember we were at Metro Center, and like this? Oh, okay. I noticed now. Sorry. So I was sitting with Bishara in Metro, Paul at Metro Center, and he showed me this. He was telling me about the museum, and he showed me this postcard drawing of a famous Palestinian picture of the Nakba, of a Palestinian family that's being, they're going, and they're at the back of the truck, a grandmother and a daughter. And you see the grandmother is looking at the camera, and she's very sad and upset. And the little girl, the granddaughter, with her hair, in the air, with these defiant eyes. So it was a painting of that famous photograph, and I thought, that's exactly what we need. Something that is aesthetically appealing, and yet so Palestinian, right? How do you communicate through art? Because art is a universal language. How do we get to people's hearts? Because the main challenge we faced, or the theory of change that we had, was that the problem here, especially in the US, is that we are, as Palestinians, we're reduced to one story. Either we are terrorists or we are victims. Whatever it is, we are reduced to that one thing, as opposed to all the complexity of our humanity. So it's hard for people to relate to us. So we created this museum because we feel like through art, we can get to people's hearts. Before we can persuade them politically, we need them to be ready for our message. We need them to want to listen to us. We need them to be curious about us and to see themselves in us. To see the Palestinians, not to pity us, but to see the humanity of how the Palestinians, despite everything they went through, they still not only survive, they actually thrive. So you see them like Edward Said and Mo Amer and Rashida Tlaib. It's a story of struggle, but also of triumph, of refusal to die, refusal to be extinguished. It's a story about the human spirit and how it always finds a way to express itself. So one of the things that we focused on was to try to make all of, because we thought we want to show all of this art, but then it dawned to us that somebody who is not familiar with the Palestinian cause might not understand the symbolism of a key or a symbolism of a refugee camp and so on. So we created like the first part of the museum to be kind of an introduction, a contextualization of what are the things that matter for Palestinians. So the fact that we go 10,000 years back, the importance of the religious diversity, the experience of the Nakba, the experience of the diaspora, the struggles, the Sabra Shatila massacre, the intifadas, but also, as we said, ending with Edward Said and Rashida Tlaib, all of those Palestinians that turned that pain and turned that struggle into something beautiful, into something memorable, and a contribution to humanity. And here I'm reminded of Mahmoud Darwish's poem, على هذه الأرض ما يستحق الحياة. There is on this earth what is worth living, where there's this part where he says the tyrants fear from the songs, right? Tyrants are afraid of the songs of the indigenous because it's through the song, it's through the culture, it's through the art that we carry that identity and we insist on our existence and on our refusal to die, our refusal to give up. And indeed, one of the key, while it wasn't easy to start the museum, we needed to fundraise a lot. One of the key aspects of our success has been that we've been true to that aspect, that we wanted this museum, and we were intentional in calling it the Museum of the Palestinian People, and not just the Palestinian Museum, because we wanted to connect it to the people, because people relate to people. So we wanted it to be a hub for Palestinians to express themselves their own ways, because the Palestinian story has been told by others, and often others who do not wish us well. And now it's time for the Palestinians to tell their own stories, their own ways, in all the different ways. So we gave a lot of freedom to the artists, to the docents, to the volunteers, to take the museum wherever they thought it needed to go. And that has made the museum, while it's a small space, it made it truly a warm, cozy place where you feel community, you feel pride, you feel energy and revitalization. So in one of the exhibits, it used to be a traveling exhibit before we had the space, there was this American family, the Golettes, have nothing to do with Palestine, but they saw our exhibit in New York, which was Bethlehem Beyond the Wall, which was all about pictures of the wall in Bethlehem, but also how Palestinians are defying the wall. They're painting over it, they're having a marathon around it, and so on and so forth. They were so taken by it that they told us, listen, we have this space, we own this space in DuPont Circle, you can have it free of rent for your museum. So we were, of course, very touched, and we had so many of those stories, so many of that in-kind donations, those people who are complete strangers who just gave us $5,000 once they saw the name Palestinian on it. So we were focused on that art, on that expression, on that human connection that people have. In fact, the person who donated the $5,000, I remember when we got the check, we were very excited, and I asked Bashara, do you know this guy? He's like, no. No, none of us knew this guy. So we thanked him, of course, and we told him, so how did you learn about us? He said, oh, well, my neighbor is Palestinian, and we're best friends. So when I saw there's Museum of the Palestinian People, I just donated, right? Like without even knowing us, just because his neighbor left such an impression on him, right? So that's kind of the power that we've had. And just to end with this, because we're really very grateful, they gave us the space free of rent since 2019. And now so they passed away, their son and daughter gave us the right of first refusal and gave us a 50% discount on that space. So between the rent that they waived and the space, it's like $500,000. So it's all about those contributions, those being touched by what they see. We had a young man in university, again, white guy, and when he saw that picture I told you about, the truck with the woman and her granddaughter, he said, oh my God, this reminds me of my grandmother. My grandmother was from Eastern Europe, and she told me how they had to run away because of the war, right? So he saw his grandmother in that picture. And likewise, an African-American guy from Detroit, when he saw the pictures of the destroyed houses in Gaza, he said, oh my God, this reminds me of Detroit. And so on and so forth. There's a human connection. There is something that the visitor sees, and then they start seeing themselves in it. So what we say, it's not a presentation, it's a conversation. We want people to come and start to have a relationship with Palestine and Palestinians. We want them, when we had some criticism, people were saying, oh, why aren't you showing all the horrors that Israel does and what have you? We told them, one, this is the museum of the Palestinian people. It's not the museum of why Israel sucks. Because we are more than just what Israel does to us, but more importantly, before that person would be interested even to hear our argument, they need to care. And this museum is about making them care, like why they care. So I'll end at this, and I leave it to Zaina to continue. Thank you.
Thanks, Nizar. And just a word about Zaina. Azam, our next speaker. First, I want to express my appreciation. Zaina is the person that I talked to about the structure and content of so much of this program today, so thank you for that. Zaina is a Palestinian-American poet, writer, editor, and community activist, poet laureate emeritus of the city of Alexandria. Her poetry books include Some Things Never Leave You and Beina Beina in Between. She serves now as poetry editor for We Are Not Numbers, a writing program for youth in Gaza. And I also have to add, Zaina is an ICRA alum. ICRA, for those who know, and there are some other ICRA folks here if you would raise your hand. ICRA is the running group that raises money for education for university students in Palestine. So.
I'm so delighted to be with all of you this afternoon, and I offer deep thanks to St. John's Norwood Church for inviting me and for organizing this afternoon featuring Palestinian culture. I'd especially like to thank Reverend Sari Atik for hosting us, and Kirk Campbell for being so enthusiastic and sensitive and caring in putting together this program. Okay, so I would like to first say a few words about the role of poetry in the Arab world and in Palestine. So you know the Arabic word for poet is sha'ir, and sha'ir comes from the root word for feeling. So poetry is about sensing and feeling the world around us. In fact, poetry is a very old art form in Arab society, dating back to pre-Islamic times when it was an oral art form. Poets have always been revered in Arab culture, and they continue to draw big crowds whenever they have readings. So modern Arab poetry evolved considerably from the older and more traditional forms. It's no longer bound by formal structures and rhyme and meter, although those are still followed and respected throughout the Arab worlds. But many modern Arab poets now also embrace writing in free verse. And this is a trend actually across the world. But I wanted to mention it to you today. So Palestinian poetry is squarely part of this tradition of Arab poetry. But Palestinians have had to address particular challenges. They have faced very repressive policies under Israeli military occupation since the Nakba started in 1948. So writing in symbolism became important, and resistance poetry flourished. So such poets were called resistance poets or platform poets. These are poets who use poetry to express political opinions and rouse the masses. They included literary greats like Mahmoud Darwish, as Kirk mentioned, and he's considered, of course, Palestine's national poet. Also Samih al-Qasim, Tawfiq Zayyad, and Fadwa Tuqan. This tradition of Palestinian poetry continues, this tradition of resistance poetry continues to this day. And of course, we see it a lot from poets from Gaza now, and also the West Bank, and inside Israel. But it's important to note that Palestinian poetry also goes beyond the theme of resistance. Themes expanded over the last several decades, and Palestinian poets, like poets in the Arab world and beyond, they write about all sorts of different things. So it's important to not to sort of categorize Palestinian poets as just writing about resistance. So they write about war and colonialism, about women's issues, social justice, environment, etc. All the themes that you see in poetry across the world, all the universal themes. So to begin, I wanted to read actually a poem by Mahmoud Darwish in both Arabic and English, and it's about him being in prison. As you know, prisons and incarceration are a big part, unfortunately, of Palestinian culture. And Darwish and his poet contemporaries were actually imprisoned many, many times. And before I read it, I'll just say that as of January of this year, the number of Palestinian detainees and prisoners who have been held in Israeli occupation prisons and detention centers has exceeded 9,350. And this figure does not include all the Gaza detainees held in Israeli military camps. And I have to say that over half of them have not been charged. So here's a poem that Mahmoud Darwish wrote, and it's called The Prison. In it, Darwish talks about how being in prison has changed him, how he now perceives things differently. A friend of mine who teaches about prisoners and human rights, she talks about what she calls freedom dreams of prisoners, and the way those living even in the most awful conditions in jails can find beauty and hope. So I'm going to read Darwish's poem in English first, so you'll know what it's about, those of you who don't know Arabic, and then I'll read it in Arabic, so you hear it in the original language. Prison. The address of my house has changed, and the time when I eat. Changed, too, the amount of my tobacco, the color of my clothes, my face, the look of me. Even the moon, so dear to me here, has become larger, more beautiful. And the smell of earth, perfume. And the taste of nature, sugar. It is as though I am on the roof of my old house, and a new star is now dwelling in my eye. السجن. تغير عنوان بيتي وموعد أكلي ومقدار تبغي تغير ولون ثيابي ووجهي وشكلي وحتى القمر عزيز علي هنا صار أحلى وأكبر ورائحة الأرض عطر وطعم الطبيعة سكر كأني على سطح بيتي القديم ونجم جديد بعيني تسمر. محمود درويش. And I'd like to have to say something about Palestinian American poets, since we're here in the United States. These poets have also played a very large role in bringing Palestinian stories to American society. And of course, one of the greats is Naomi Shihab Nye, who has brought poetry about Palestinians to a national platform in this country. I'd like to read one poem by her titled Arabic Coffee. Arabic coffee. It was never too strong for us. Make it blacker, Papa, thick in the bottom. Tell again how the years will gather in small white cups, how luck lives in a spot of grounds. Leaning over the stove, he let it boil to the top and down again, 2 times. No sugar in his pot. And the places where men and women break off from each other was not present in that room. The 100 disappointments, fire swallowing olive wood beads at the warehouse, the dreams tucked like pocket handkerchiefs into each day, took their places on the table near the half-empty dish of corn. And none was more important than the others, and all were guests. When he carried the tray into the room, high and balanced in his hands, it was an offering to all of them. Stay, be seated, follow the talk wherever it goes. The coffee was the center of the flower, like clothes on a line, saying, "You will live long enough to wear me." A motion of faith, there is this and there is more. Naomi Shehabnai. So I know I was invited here today to read my own poetry, but I felt in a presentation about Palestinian culture that we really needed to bring in the historical context and talk a little bit about Palestinian poets. So now I'd like to share 3 poems of my own. The first poem is about my late mother. Memories of her come to me often, and sometimes I capture them in a poem. I wanted to read this particular poem today because it talks about the moon, the beginning of the lunar month, and it relates to Ramadan's start. I know we're almost halfway through the holy month, but I'd like to wish my Muslim friends a Ramadan Mubarak. Here is My Mother Talks to the Moon. The moon emerges, a sickle, wisp of an arc, the true beginning of a month. We believe this, and the eyes will swear to it, testify. My mother teaches me how to talk to the moon at this tender time, as we find a fingernail in sunlit sky traveling to early nightfall. هلي هلالك ريتك علينا شهر مبارك. As your crescent appears, we appeal to you for a blessed month. She holds my small hand, and we survey the sky over Beirut together, and I repeat her words, bobbing my head to their rhythm and savoring the rhyme of your crescent and blessed, hilalak and mubarak. To this day, I sense your presence, Mama, at the true birth of each month. I remember your soft, lilting words. Say them out loud to the crescent moon. Think of beginnings rather than endings, even though you've been gone for many years. Thank you. So we can't be reading poetry about Palestine without talking about Gaza and the genocide there. I was reading about children and amputations there, and that children account for 1/4 of all amputations in Gaza over the past 2 years, making Gaza the place in the world with the highest number of child amputees per capita. So here's a poem, Child Amputee. Her leg now ends suddenly before it's supposed to. The skin took months to grow and stretch over the bone like a fine sock, tight around a thick scar. But there's nothing smooth about her memory of falling ceilings and walls, the menacing serrated cement that pounded her torso and limbs. On the floor of the bloodied hospital tent, in the stupor of dust and pain, she had heard the doctor say the leg would have to be amputated, a recent word in her war vocabulary. Then, between tears and screams that emanated from what seemed like every cell of her body, eyes shut so tight she didn't open them again. There are no memories of what happened next. First, she fumed about this loss, as if her leg died and disappeared, like many of her family members in Gaza. Then she tried to forget it happened and slept most days, despite the roar of the drones and bombs. And now she can't stop crying and about not being able to play hopscotch again or walk to the beach to swim with her friends. She wishes she could see and touch the old knee with a small scar she got after falling down the stairs of her grandparents' house, the mole on her calf near the ankle, the toes that looked exactly like her mother's. Sometimes it feels like what is missing is still there, ghost-like. The leg that remains often hurts too, a sympathetic sibling. She hates calling what's left a stump, as if it's a denuded tree or one cut down. It's still part of her body, familiar and soft. But something is always awake in the shortened thigh, even in the middle of the night, needling her and her dreams. Near the tent opening, the crutches wait, cruel reminders when she opens her eyes in the morning. Each day arrives like that, with war and rubble, making her face what's there and remember what's missing. Thank you. For my final poem, I'd like to just say a friend of mine recently asked me to write a hopeful poem about Gaza, and I realized how much of a challenge I faced. It's really hard to write a hopeful poem about Gaza amid the ethnic cleansing and the genocide that have been unfolding there. But recently I came across a speech by the Palestinian pastor, Reverend Munzir Ishaq. He was the one who constructed the Christ in the Rubble scene at Christmas Church, Lutheran Church in Bethlehem. And the second year, in 2025, they added a Christmas tree next to the Christ child. So he saw it as, quote, symbolizing defiance in the face of death. It's hope planted where despair is expected to rule. He said, we live amid ruins, yet we insist on life. We bury our dead, yet we plant trees. So his moving words inspired me to write this poem. It's titled, We Plant Trees in Genocide. The earth knows us. We trust soil, sun, rain. On the same land, bombs land. We bury our dead, we bury our trees. Yet our children gather seeds. They ask us to imagine oranges and pears. We are summoned by the name of cactus fruit, sabr, patience. And fists will open, will plant. Our ancestors at peace in death, the roots, the love we know, they are the earthworms, minerals, oxygen, old branches and stones anchoring trees. In our homeland, we thirst for water and light. We dream of farming, even in hunger. Below, tears and breaths mingle, a helix in the soil. Hopeful tendrils curl toward the sun. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zaina. This is a good time while we're setting up for Fawad, for people who are arriving and standing in the back. There are still some chairs over here to my left and to my right. They're down in the front, but during this transition, it would be come on up and sit and be comfortable. So That was very moving. And now we're in for another treat. Fuad Foti is a highly accomplished oud instrumentalist, a captivating vocalist, an esteemed musical instructor, and a co-founder of Quarter Tones Music, which is a platform dedicated to promoting and preserving the rich cultural heritage of Arabian music. And I think you'll also get a flavor of his ability to educate as well as to entertain with the oud.
The oud is heard? Okay, great. All right, so I guess we heard from Zaina Azzam and also from Kirk about Mahmoud Darwish, right? Mahmoud Darwish. Who's Mahmoud Darwish? Anybody knows? Mahmoud Darwish. You heard him more than one time. He's a Palestinian poet, okay? He's very well known. His poems live forever, you know, in the minds of Palestinians and everything. So one of his nice pieces was سجل أنا عربي, meaning write down I'm an Arab. He's a Palestinian, right? But he's saying write down I'm an Arab. And so my name is Fuad Foti, and I'm honored to be here, by the way. How many of you know what this instrument is? Anybody? Yes? Yeah, what is it? It's a oud, yeah. Okay, oud. And sometimes they say laoud, laid, or, you know, there's so many different names. Sometimes it's spelled with a U, sometimes with a O-U-D, and so on. But it is OUD. Sometimes they refer to it as lute. It is a family. It's the actual father of the famous what? Guitar. Okay. When did that happen? Anybody knows when that happened? When the guitar just all of a sudden came out? 1700s, okay? Okay. Around yeah, in the middle of 1700s. So they wanted something simpler, but this one is a beautiful piece. No frets, so they introduced the frets on the guitar, and they broke it down into semitones. But then once they did that, what happened? They're no longer able to play what's called quarter tones, you know, like the actual half flats, okay? On the piano, you have those black keys, you have sharps and flats. Well, it's actually the note between the white key and the black key, okay? So if you break it in half, that's a half flat, okay, or a half sharp, okay? So again, you're going to notice this because probably because you have Western acceptance of notes, so the half flat will not come to you right away, you know, but you'll see how beautiful it is. So the song that I want to sing by Mahmoud Darwish called سجل أنا عربي. And سجل أنا عربي says, write down I'm an Arab. And the whole idea of identity, and you know how Palestinians, our identity is being stolen, you know, every day. I mean, we're reminded now they would just want to wipe out all of Gaza, you know. So we want to remind everybody, Palestinians are there. No matter if you take them out of Gaza or out of the West Bank, they're there, you know. They know and they want their country back. No matter how long it'll take, but they're determined to get it back. And so I will sing سجل أنا عربي. سجل أنا عربي، ورقم بطاقتي 50,000. سجل أنا عربي، ورقم بطاقتي 50,000. وأطفالي 8 وتاسعهم سيأتي بعد صيف. سجل أنا عربي، ورقم بطاقتي 50,000. وأطفالي 8 وتاسعهم سيأتي بعد صيف. فهل طاب ميزاتي على رأسي، عجال فوق كوفية، وكفي صلبة كالصخر تخمش من يلامسها. سجل برأس الصفحة الأولى، أنا لا أكره الناس ولا أسطو على أحد، ولكني إذا ما جعت آكل لحم مغتصبي. حذاري 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 من جوعي ومن غضبي. حذاري 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 من جوعي ومن غضبي. سجل أنا عربي، ورقم بطاقتي 50,000. وأطفالي 8 وتاسعهم سيأتي بعد Thank you so much. So one of there are many songs that are more upbeat, of course. So this particular song is called "Baktub Ismik Ya Bladi." Okay, it's basically it's a love letter to Palestine, celebrating the land and the eternal, radiant and deeply cherished land. It speaks of writing the country's name across the sun that never sets, symbolizing enduring devotion and pride. Okay, the lyrics honoring the homeland's beauty, history, and glory, while expressing that no wealth or family compares to the love of it. Okay? So I'm going to sing "Baktub Ismik Ya Bladi." So if you're Arabic speaker and you know this song, you can sing along with me, please, okay? Okay, so repeat after me. La 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 la. So whenever you hear it, you can just do that, okay? I think, okay? Let's try one more time. Ready? Together. La 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 la. Again. La 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 la. guys sing it. I think you're doing a great job here. Okay? Okay. Let's actually do the song. بكتب اسمك يا بلادي عالشمس الما بتغيب لا مالي ولا ولادي على حبك ما في حبيب نكتب اسمك يا بلادي عالشمس الما بتغيب لا مالي ولا ولادي على حبك ما في حبيب لا 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 again لا 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 هي دار الأوفى دار تحلى فيك الأشعار يا دار الأوفى دار تحلى فيك الأشعار وانتي عالداير مضوية مزروعة بمجد وغار عالبرج العالي طلوا الخيالي وسيوف تلالي وشمسك تتغيب لا مالي ولا ولادي على حبك ما في حبيب لك again لك اكتب اسمك لا 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 again لا 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 ولو ألف في الدنيا وادور وقطاع السبع بحور لو ألف في الدنيا وادور وقطاع السبع بحور ونادي ترابك يا بلادي نرجع على أرض النور ونعيد عيدك كل مواعيدك بالخير نزيدك مواسم صيف لا مالي ولا ولادي على حبك ما في حبيب لاكتب اسمك يا بلادي عالشمس الما بتغيب لا مالي ولا ولادي على حبك ما في حبيب one more time لك اكتب اسمك يا بلادي عالشمس الما بتغيب لا مالي ولا ولادي على حبك ما في حبيب Thank you so much. My next song is called Palestine Ya Immi Wa Ya Ruhi, okay? So this song is deeply emotional, a tribute to Palestine, addressed as both a mother and the very soul of its people. It speaks of devotion, love, and sacrifice, portraying the land as a source of both pride and healing. The lyrics honors the freedom fighters and the people who defend the homeland while celebrating national symbols like the kufiya and the oud, actually, and through its repeated affirmation of dignity and resilience. Okay, the song inspires unwavering commitment to Palestine, reminding listeners of the strength, courage, and hope that sustains its people through struggle and hardship. Okay? So when I say Palestine, ya immi ya ruhi, you know what Palestine means, right? What is Palestine? It's Palestine. Yeah, I don't know why they have a P in front of it, but it's actually an F. So I think the British put it there. I believe that. So it's really Palestine. Can everybody say Palestine for me? Palestine. Yeah, exactly. Palestine. So let's just say. So when I say Palestine, ya immi wa ya ruhi, okay. So there is every time you hear Palestine, just say Palestine, okay. Here, I think Malikat over there will probably help me with the word Palestine. Ready? One. فلسطين يا أمي ويا روحي فلسطين بكفيك جروحي فلسطين لا تدل ولا تهوني يا دوال جروحي يا أمي ويا روحي بكفيك جروحي لا تدلني ولا تهوني يا دوال جروحي فلسطين كرمالك من قاتل والأحرار. You can clap now. فلسطين كرمالك من قاتل والأحرار عطرابك قوافل فلسطين كرمالك من قاتل والأحرار عطرابك قوافل شعبك نادى بأعلى المنابر بالرايات لوحي يما لوحي وعلي راياتك علي علي راياتك علي واسمرني يا ابو الكوفيه. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, you can say hey, hey, hey. That's another place. All right. Everybody. Hey, hey, hey. وعلي راياتك علي علي راياتك علي واسمر يا ابو الكوفيه. Yeah. وجبين الوطن عالي وجبين الوطن عالي وملون بالكوفية وعلي راياتك علي علي راياتك علي واسمر يا ابو الكوفية. هي 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 وجبين الوطن عالي وجبين الوطن عالي ومزين بالكوفية فلسطين يا أمي ويا روحي بكفيك جروحي من دلي ولا تهوني يا دوال جروحي يا أمي ويا روحي بكفيك جروحي إلا تدلي ولا تهوني يا دوال جروحي فلسطين كرمالك من قاتل والأحرار عطرابك قوافل فلسطين كرمالك من قاتل والأحرار عطرابك قوافل شعبك نادى بأعلى المنابر بالرايات لوحي يما لوحي علي راياتك علي علي راياتك علي يا اسمر يا ابو الكوفيه. Good. وجبين الوطن عالي وجبين الوطن عالي ومزين بالكوفيه. Hey. One more time. وعلي راياتك علي علي راياتك علي اسمر يا ابو الكوفيه. هي هي وجبين الوطن عالي وجبين الوطن عالي ومزين بالكوفيه. هي هي فلسطين يا امي ويا روحي بكفيك جروحي لا تدلي ولا تهوني يا دوا لجروحي. Thank you. Do I have time for one more? Okay, great. So we'll have one more song. So do you like the fast ones or do you like the slow ones? I don't know. Of course, there are many songs that actually resonated in our minds for many long time. You know, like "Unadikum," I call on you. So those songs, I used to sing them back in the 80s, late 70s, and but there is a song called "Mawtini," okay. Mawtini is a song, is a patriotic anthem expressing deep love and pride for the homeland. It celebrates the beauty and hope found in the land while invoking a sense of divine blessing and honor. The lyrics emphasizes the responsibility of youth to defend independence and dignity, rejecting oppression through oppression, because the Palestinians are just so oppressed. I mean, no matter which angle you look at it, whether the hostages, which they call prisoners, but they are all young kids that are in jail without anything, charged against them, because they threw maybe a little stone at the Israelis, and they get to just hold them forever, So this song kind of like it emphasizes resistance, and against this injustice, and it's called "Mawtini." And if you know this song, you can sing it. And if you don't, just say "Mawtini" is enough, for anyone who doesn't speak Arabic. Okay. موطني موطني الجلال والجمال والسناء والبهاء في رباك في رباك، والحياة والنجاة والهناء والرجاء في هواك في هواك. هل أراك سالما منعما وغانما مكرما، سالما منعما وغانما مكرما. هل أراك في علاك الهدود سما تبلغ سماك. موطني 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 موطني، الشباب لن يكل همهم أن يستقل أو يبيد أو يبيد. نستقي من الردى ولن نكون للعدا كالعبيد كالعبيد. لا نريد ذلنا المؤبدا وعيشنا المنكدا، ذلنا المؤبدا وعيشنا المنكدا. لا نريد بل في مجدنا تليد مجدنا تليد. موطني 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 موطني، الحسام واليراع لا الكلام والنزاع رمزنا رمزنا. مجدنا وعهدنا وواجب إلى الوفاء يهزنا يهزنا. عزنا عزنا غاية تشرف وراية ترفرف غاية تشرف وغاية ترفرف يا هنا في علا قاهرا عدا موطني موطني. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was amazing. A lot of emotions today. I'm feeling it. So, two things. One, just again, a reminder, if you want to contribute, the QR code is inside your program. For people of my generation, you just have to take out your iPhone, point the camera at the QR code, and it'll pop up with our donation page. And if anybody has questions about that, I can help you with that later. So, and now Lema has big shoes to fill. Yes, thanks, Nancy. There's also, if you left your Discover card at home, there's a little basket over here by the door that for cash donations. Again, just it's optional, suggested. 3 good beneficiaries: Bethlehem, Bright Stars of Bethlehem, Project Rosanna's mobile medical clinics, and United Palestinian Appeal. And so now, changing a little bit, changing it up, mixing it up, Lema Bashir Bulgasul is going to speak to us about Tatriz. She's of Palestinian background and influences, surrounded and fascinated by elaborately detailed Middle Eastern fabrics. She and her assistants will talk to us about Tatriz, the intricate Palestinian embroidery designs with distinct patterns identifying each village, typically passed down mother to daughter from generation to generation. So please welcome Lema.
Hi, everyone. You guys come up? Since Tatriz is a communal activity, I decided to bring live assisters, so we could do this together. All right. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Lema, as we said. I'm really happy to be here with all of you and to see that you're interested in Tatriz, which is my favorite topic. So Tatriz, what is Tatriz? Closer? Yes. Okay, that's not too loud? Okay. The word Tatriz in Arabic means embroidery. Generally, it means embroidery. But generally, in the Palestinian context, when we talk about Tatriz, we're referring to a specific style called Tatriz Fallahi, which is a kind of cross-stitch. And it's represented on 3 of the thobs that are up here. A thob is a Palestinian dress. So traditionally, as Kirk said, it was a tradition passed down from mother to daughter, learning how to do this kind of embroidery. And women would usually embroider their own dresses themselves, and also as a communal activity with other family members. They would get together, maybe mom would do the chest piece, auntie would do the sleeves, and they would all put it together usually to get a girl ready when she was going to get married. This would be part of her trousseau. So we have a couple of different villages and areas represented here. Something very typical to Tatriz in Palestine is each dress in each region has its own look. And you can actually identify usually where a woman is from when you look at her thob. So the one that I'm wearing is pretty typical to the Ramallah and Al-Bira area, where they have this pattern in the chest piece, kind of a V with a rectangle here. This one here is from Sarafand, which is just south of Jaffa. It's on the coast. It's a warmer area. Yeah, a little dual twirl. You want to walk down? Hey. So the Sarafand thob has a very unique neckline. Most thobs have this slit here. You can see it in, well, these two. But the Sarafand one is a little bit different. And the chest piece design is just a repetitive motif instead of having a specific layout. So as you can see next to each other, they're pretty different. The next one we have is from Bir al-Sab'a, which is in the south. This is one of my favorites. I think these are so beautiful. So the Bir Saba chest piece is shorter. You can see it kind of sits up here. Also has repetitive motifs, but it has that U around the neck. And then these sleeves are just incredible. So this is more of a, you would think that this is a dressy outfit, but actually they wore these every day. And when you were working, you could actually tie your sleeves back like this and get things done. There we go. And then finally, this tobe is called malak, which means majestic. This is the kind of tobe that you would typically wear for a wedding, either for the bride or for the family of the bride. It is also, this is a style that's not done at home. Usually you would hire an artist to make something like this for you with all the gold embroidery. But they're very beautiful. And the color theme with the green and red, generally tobes that have the green and red motif, it's called Jannah wa Nar, which means heaven and hell. So the green is heaven, the red is hell, obviously. But there are a lot of different ones. There's woven cotton, where it's mostly white fabric, but it has a red and a green stripe. You can also put together red and green fabrics, but this category of tobe is called Jannah wa Nar. Yeah. So tobes have become a very precious symbol of national identity for Palestinians. This is something that, growing up, a lot of us saw our mothers and our grandmothers wearing tobes. My grandmother wore one every day. That was just what she wore. She didn't wear anything else. Now you see them a little bit less often. People wear them to special occasions and things like that. But I think it's very important that we hold on to this piece of our culture, as we're talking about culture and art and not identifying us by our pain. This is something very beautiful. These pieces are passed down in families. I mean, you have tobes that have been worn by 2, 3, 4 generations of women. So they're very precious. It's very important that we hold on to them. So thank you all. I appreciate you listening to this. UNESCO? Oh, yes. Tlatriz has been identified as designated as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage item as well. So, yeah. So, thank you all. Coral, do you want to see the back?
Thank you, Lema. And assistants. We didn't get the name of Lema and your assistants. Can you just?
Aida.
I guess I missed it. I'm sorry.
Mona, Lama's mother.
Hanan, Lama's friend.
Okay, thank you all. All right, so now we're in for another treat and kind of the finale of the arts part of the program. There will be a reception afterwards, so please don't bolt out the door. Come over and enjoy the Janine pastries and other treats that we have. So now I'm going to introduce Melikat el-Dabka, Queens of Dabka. The Melikat are the first all-women's Dabka dance troupe in the DMV, specializing in performing and teaching Palestinian, Lebanese, and Iraqi Dabka, Chobi, and Zafa. Those are all names for the Dabka, essentially. Wedding procession and tabos, or bass drum. They also incorporate singing, ululations, and awiha, and teach the history, cultural significance, and percussion beats related to Dabka. So now I'm going to turn it over to the Melikat.
Thank you.
اشتقنا لبنان التبكي والليل طول نغني أوف وعتابة وصاري فطول بلدي معنا وميجانا والهوارة والروزانا وشروقك زي العلماني واللالا والدلعونة وشروقك زي العلماني واللالا والدلعونة يا حلوي بجمالك قامت من النوم وانت يا لطيف لا انا مجنونه ولا عقلي خفيف يميني حب الله وينطيني رغيف يميني حب الله وينطيني رغيف من خبز المحبوب يكفيني السنه وانا شفت الماني على ذنوب وشو بتسوي على ذنوب والله لبعت لا مكتوب يبكي حجار السواني يا غزيلة البيل وادي نسم يا هوا بلادي والرحتي مع الصيادي والصياد متقربة نزلت عالتبكي وصارت تتلاوى وقلت لها بحبك قالت لا علاوة نزلت عالتبكي وصارت تتلاوى قلت لها بحبك قالت لا علاوة ومن قابل آدم ما ياخد حواء واني أحسابك دافع لابونا يا ضيق شو هيدا الله ابو محمد الله العبد الفتح كلهم اكابر بادبهم والله صار فيني داجر العبد الفتح كلهم اكابر بايديهم والله صار فيني داجر بهالسهرة حلوة فعلا رح باشر وغني لعيونهم احلى الدلعونة وبهالسهرة الحلوة فورا رح باشر وغني لعيونن أحلى دلعون. هي 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 شو هيدا يا ليلى؟ حرك حرك شوت 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 يا هولي شو الأول يا خيّا. ويا جب جنين السهرة عمراني بوجود ليلى وحسين الغالي. ويا جب جنين السهرة عمراني بوجود ليلى وحسين الغالي. وبخرب تروح بغني غناني لعيون ابو محمد دوري لعيونه. وبخرب تروح بغني غناني لعيون ابو محمد دوري لعيونه. يا زياد هي 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 على كاسيا.
Wow, so energetic. We'd love to ask you to do an encore, but it's very, very physically demanding. So that's the conclusion of the entertainment part of our cultural program. There is a reception. The table is filled with Janine pastries and other goodies. And please stay and mingle, talk to each other. It was great to see so many friends here today and just the emotions, the education, the energy. I'm thrilled that all of you came, and I hope you'll enjoy the reception.